What's going on, y'all? Jupiter Bassin. So today I got a little video for you guys. It is over using bait attractants. Do they work? Specifically, Smelly Jelly. So I picked up some of this Smelly Jelly off of Tackle Warehouse. I have never used it before. I was really trying to think of what would be a good video for you guys. Kind of informative, but also a cool little challenge type thing to do. And I picked up this Smelly Jelly. I got it in 2 cents. I got a Bass Feast and a Bass Hammer. And I will say, first off, this stuff, and I'm opening it up and I know what I'm about to go into. So, oof, it just stinks. And I actually have my reaction on that. Unfortunately, we recorded a full day on the water using this, testing it out. And, you know, GoPros being GoPros, I had issues with the audio. Not able to salvage it, but I will show you guys some clips throughout this video. But first off, the smell, and I'll show you guys my first reaction. Check this out, see what it... Oh my god, dude. That smells like straight swamp. That is disgusting, but whew, we're gonna get out here, we're gonna use... I still have that freaking smell in my nose. It's not going away. But going into it, you know, there's some pros and cons of using this. First, we'll talk about how the day went, and then we'll go into my pros and cons. So, we started out the day, there was a waxing crescent moon. Now, I'm not huge on the moon phases. As a fisherman, you really should be because it tells you a lot about the bite. And for the waxing crescents, not really that great for a bite. I did notice the night before it was very bright out, and knowing this time of the year, the forage, you know, there's a lot of bait fish present in the water this time of year, so the bass have a lot to feed on. Now, I went later in the day. I got out about like 10:30, and I fished, you know, my crankbait. I fished, you know, different types of structure. I was fishing a lot of different things. Wasn't getting a bite. And so Texas rig at this lake, at Lake T, I normally don't do so hot with it. I'll catch the occasional bass on it, but I don't catch a lot of fish with it. And so I took this out and I ran it through, fished 2 passes on some cypress trees using like a shaky head with a trick worm. Didn't catch anything. So we applied this baby on there, and I believe it was the Bass Feast that we used. And the smell on it, it carries, and it's okay to apply this, but we'll get into that in a minute. But we were just hammering the fish. We were catching them one after another, getting a lot of bites, and we actually landed about 6 fish in a very short period of time. So it made me into a believer on this. So let's get to talking about what I like and dislike about this. So it states here on the directions, it definitely says that you should try to keep this, avoid exposure to the sun. That is 100% correct, because I kept this underneath my kayak, no direct sunlight, in a shaded area, and it goes from like a gel base. It's like a petroleum gel, kind of like a thick, like kind of almost like a cream, like an oil base, It definitely applies to the bait really well. It kind of gets on there too thick, but it stays on the bait, and that's what you want, that scent to stay on the bait. And so it definitely does that. Smells horrible, but it'll stay on your bait, and if I'm smelling it, the fish are smelling it. So we applied this on, and it's so thick that I think the one thing that they could definitely do is put some sort of applicator, like a brush in here, to be able to brush it on your bait versus like dipping it to where it gets thick globbed up on there. And then once the sun gets to this and it starts to get hot, I had it in the shade and it was still just started to basically melt. It turned into straight oil. So it went from more of a solid to a liquid over time, and it was all over the place. It was getting all over my kayak, all over my hands, all dripping all over me, and it was just a mess. But I definitely, I can't deny how well this stuff worked, and it stayed on. I mean, I took at least 15 to 20 casts, still had the smell in the bait. I put it on my crankbait. My crankbait definitely kept the scent for like 10 to 15 casts as well, which on a hard bait, that's a lot harder to do, to keep that scent on your bait, which it worked really well. So That is the definite positive of it, and just the negative is a mess, and how well this does not do with the heat. It makes it a mess. And I've heard some people say they recommend taking a little bit of it, scooping it, and putting it into their soft plastic bag, mixing it up, basically getting it all in there. Still doesn't avoid the fact that you get it on your hands and stuff, but that's part of fishing. Fishing is a dirty, grimy, sweaty sport. So you got to get dirty. Can't be afraid of getting that stuff, but it definitely does stink really bad, and it is not a pleasant smell to have on you though. So I will say that. Another positive is, I mean, the biggest one is that this thing catches fish. It definitely works. I tested it. I used the same bait. Wasn't catching them beforehand. Put the jelly on, and it actually worked really well. So I was extremely surprised and excited, because I am not a firm believer in bait attractants. I've used some of the liquid sprays, you know, the sticks to roll on, like the chapstick ones. A lot of different ones that I've tried and had no success with, and this stuff kills it. It does really well. It definitely stinks, but it catches fish, so I can't complain about that. Overall, a successful day and a successful test. So whenever I say this, does it work? It 100% works. It may be messy, it may have its flaws, but it gets the job done in catching fish, and that's what's important. So if you guys have any questions about this, I know it was a short video. I had a nice long video for you guys, and you know, GoPros being GoPros, had some issues, so we weren't able to put out this video. But if you guys have questions on this, or if you guys, you know, have your input, if you've used it before, let me know in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on it. Let me know what you guys think about attractants in general in fishing. And until next time, y'all, peace.